Medico. Today's interesting topic is special senses, in which I am going to do in detail about the olfaction. So what do you mean by senses? It is a structure in the human body through which the body perceives an external stimulus. So it is some structure which is present in the human body and the body perceives it by an external stimulus. So what is a stimulus? Anything change in the environment is called as a stimulus. So it can be either external or internal. For example, somebody is calling you, you are hearing them and going towards them. This is external stimulus. And something is happening in your body, you want to use the washroom. Either you want to micturate or defecate. That is the internal stimulus. So these are sensed by our specialized structures which are present in our body. Either the external stimulus or the internal stimulus. So those structures will have the receptors. So we'll do in detail, you understand this. The sensation perceived by the human body can be divided into two main types, that is a general sensation and special sensation. So what is general sensation? These are sensations which can be felt throughout the body to the same extent. Whereas special sensations, they require some specialized organs or receptors, as I was mentioning earlier. So only through them they are able to receive the sensation. So let's see what are the general sensations. They can be present in every part of our human body. Example, touch, temperature, pain, proprioception, pressure. Touch, there can be two types of touch. A fine touch with the help of a cotton or a feather, that is called the fine touch. Crude touch is just a touch with a much firmer object. Temperature, there are two types of temperature, the cold, the warmth or the hot. We have specialized receptor for cold, that is cross is bulb. For warmth or hot, ruffin is bulb. Touch, that is a fine touch, is by the Merkel cell present in the epidermis of the skin, and crude touch is by the Meissner's corpuscle present in the dermis of the skin. Pain has got a specialized receptor called as free nerve ending. Whereas proprioception, that is a joint sense, with the closed eyes you can tell where is your hand, where is your foot. That is because we have the Golgi tendon organ within the tendon of each muscle. So that will tell proprioception. Pressure is by the Pacinian corpuscle present in the dermis of the skin. So these are the general senses. It's present in every part of our body, especially in the skin. Special senses, these are the sensations which are perceived only at specific sites, specific areas in our body. Example, smell. We can't smell from our hand. We use nose for it. So smell, sense of smell is a special sensation. We can't see from our hand. We use eyes. So eyes are involved in visual sensation. We can't hear through our hand or skin. We are using the organ of corti present in the inner ear for hearing. So that is also a special sense. We can't taste from our skin, but we use our tongue for it because we have taste bud in our tongue. So that is also a special sense. So special sense are mainly concentrated in the head and neck region. General sense is present throughout the body. So these are the two main things before we start with olfaction. So olfaction or the smell is a topic of interest for today. So what is this olfaction? The sense of smell is produced by the odoriferous substance or the volatile substances which when released in the environment, as the name suggests, they are volatile, they go upwards. So when they go upwards, this is the nose or the nasal cavity. It will go upwards in the nose or the nasal cavity. It reaches the roof of the nasal cavity. So the nature has provided the receptor, the olfactory receptor in the roof of the nasal cavity. The microvilli are projected downwards. This epithelium, the basement membrane is upwards, the microvilli is downwards. The receptor for olfaction is called olfactory receptor and it is present in the roof of the nasal cavity. From here, the first order neuron which carries the information is a bipolar neuron. As you can see that the bipolar neuron is called as olfactory neuron. They pass through the cribriform plate of the ethmoid bone. One sieve-like membrane in the roof of the nasal cavity is called as cribriform plate of the ethmoid bone. From there, the olfactory neurons which form 40 to 50 bundles which pass through cribriform plate of ethmoid bone end up in second set of neurons, that is the mitral cells and the tuft cells present in the olfactory bulb. This is called the olfactory bulb, present inferior to the frontal lobe of the brain. So from here, the tuft cells and mitral cells, their axons extend backwards to form the olfactory tract. Ultimately, this tract divided into three roots. They are called as olfactory striae, the medial, intermediate and lateral olfactory striae. You can see that here, this is the olfactory bulb present on the inferior surface of the frontal lobe. The axons of these extend backwards to form the olfactory tract, the second order neuron. The mitral cells and tuft cells, I am repeating, the mitral cells and tuft cells present in the olfactory bulb receives the information from this olfactory neuron, which forms the olfactory nerve. Then the axons of this mitral cell and tuft cell extend backwards as the olfactory tract. It is present in a sulcus, in a depression here called as olfactory sulcus. Then at the posterior end, it splits up into three divisions, three roots: medial, intermediate and lateral olfactory striae. So these olfactory striae end up in a complex system called as limbic system, which is involved with emotion. So that emotional component is there for smell. Okay. So smell can be used for a limbic system. So let's see the same thing with respect to the flow chart. In the easiest way to present in the exam, the smell or olfaction, it is the sensation of smell that results in detection of odoriferous substance in the environment. So the olfactory pathway begins from a receptor called as olfactory receptor. These are simple cuboidal epithelium with microvilli present at the roof of the nasal cavity and the adjacent wall. They pass upwards to the neuron called as olfactory neuron, which is the bipolar neuron. The axons of these neurons form a nerve called as olfactory nerve. This olfactory nerve passes through the cribriform plate of ethmoid bone, and it ends up in a bulb-like structure called as olfactory bulb. Within the bulb, there are two types of cells: the mitral cells and the tuft cells. These mitral cells and tuft cells receives the information from the olfactory neuron, and the axons of these project backward as the olfactory tract. These olfactory tract will split up into three layers: the medial, intermediate and lateral olfactory striae. The intermediate olfactory striae end up in the anterior perforated substance, not that important. The medial olfactory striae ends up in the septal nuclei. The septal nuclei, as the name suggests, is present in the septum pellucidum. Then it goes to the hypothalamus, that is the area of diencephalon below thalamus is called as hypothalamus. It's connected to the limbic system or the emotional pathway. So this is the fate of medial olfactory striae. Let's see what happens to the lateral olfactory striae. One of the fibers, few set of fibers beginning from the lateral olfactory striae end up in the thalamus. Via thalamus it reaches orbitofrontal cortex, that is the inferior surface of the frontal lobe, which sits over the orbit. Therefore, it's called as orbitofrontal cortex. That is the fate of lateral olfactory striae. Whereas majority of the bundle from lateral olfactory striae goes to prepiriform cortex. Then it ends up in piriform cortex. Then further it goes to the entorhinal area. Then it goes to the amygdala. Amygdala is a part of corpus striatum, the basal nuclei, also called basal ganglia. It is involved with rage, revengeful behavior, all this amygdala, emotional pathway. So finally it ends up in the emotional system called as limbic system. So the fate of the lateral olfactory striae, few of the bundle ends up in thalamus, the sensory relay station, orbitofrontal cortex. Okay. So the sense of smell is perceived by the frontal lobe. In addition, majority of the fibers goes to the prepiriform cortex, from there to the piriform cortex, then to the entorhinal area, ultimately to amygdala, which is involved with the emotional pathway called as limbic system. The other name of smell is osmia. Olfaction is also called osmia. So what do you call absence of smell? I already told in one of my videos terminologies. A for absence. So absence of smell either due to damage to the frontal lobe, olfactory stray, olfactory tract, olfactory bulb, cribriform plate of ethmoid bone. Okay, this one cribriform plate of ethmoid bone, olfactory nerve, or the olfactory receptor itself. So absence of smell is called as anosmia. Distortion of smell is called as dysosmia. That is also the clinical importance. Sometimes the olfactory lobe tumor will produce an epilepsy, abnormal generation of impulses. That time the person perceives parosmia even without the sensation of smell. The person perceives the sensation of smell. That's called as parosmia. So that is a gist of it. Clinical importance. Anosmia, complete absence of sense of smell is called anosmia. Dysosmia, distortion in the sense of smell is called as dysosmia. So this is for today. Sense of smell or the olfaction, the olfactory pathway, the mechanism and how it's linked to the limbic system or the emotional system. Thank you for watching and learning from Logic Medico. If you're new to our channel, kindly consider subscribing our channel. And if you learned anything useful from this video, kindly press the thumbs up icon. Share this video with your friends too. Thank you once again.